Hey, welcome back, everybody, to our Jumper live stream. And, well, the podcast doesn't even know. The podcast listeners don't even know we stopped. The fools. All right. I'll be editing that out of the podcast, so they'll never find out. Um,
Well,
this is the bonus material you get for watching us do this train wreck live. All right. So that brings us to the movie itself. Guys, you ready to jump into this thing?
Might as well.
I'll jump anything that moves.
it's true. I've seen it.
Oh, all right. Here we go, guys. This is Jumper. We open with a voiceover from David Rice, our protagonist, telling us about his globe trotting from the top of the Sphinx.
I have a question. Do you guys recall when we learned his last name was Rice?
When they call him rice cake or rice ball.
But that seemed non sequitur to me. That's why I was curious.
Me too.
What does that mean?
No, I was like, was his character supposed to be Asian and they just never changed like a racist thing? Like,
yeah.
Like, what is... No, it was like 2/3 of the way through the movie that I realized his last name was Rice.
Same here.
Yeah. Once I realized it, though, it made sense that they were calling him rice ball. It answered that question.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
But at first, I was genuinely confused by that insult.
I was too.
Yeah, X-Ray on Amazon told me that it was David Rice, so I knew from early on. I knew what the rice bowl was referenced to, but yeah, in the movie, they didn't say his last name for a really long time.
Yeah.
Did you research?
Yeah. I mean, I researched the movie prior to it, but I didn't remember his last name.
You did fine too. Don't worry.
I'm sorry, guys, I failed you. So we cut back to him as a teenager. His crush, Millie, likes to travel. He gives her a snow globe with the Eiffel Tower in it. So
she dreams of travel.
Yeah.
She does. She
doesn't know if she likes it yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Because she hasn't gone anywhere.
She dreams.
She's just. Yeah.
Yeah, she dreams of travel, but yet she's okay. So here's the thing: he gives her a snow globe with the Eiffel Tower in it. Then they go to the Colosseum.
I thought that too.
Yeah.
Why? I thought that. Why didn't they go to Paris?
Just as a screenwriting device. Like what?
In her locker, the photos. I forgot to look. There's probably a photo of the Colosseum in her locker. I saw Rome really big, so Rome was her big thing. But he just found that snow globe at a yard sale.
Well,
he didn't
But
go pick it out off of the historical landmarks.
But the
shelf.
screenwriters get to write what's in the snow globe. They don't actually just have to go with the snow globe they find.
Yeah, it was the rosebud. For this was the object that represented their feelings.
Yeah,
so I'm sure it was the writer of the book who dropped that ball.
Probably.
I don't know.
I seem like I don't know.
That's like an easy detail to put into a book.
If you're gonna set it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't read the book. Anybody who's read the book, let us know. I mean, maybe I'm sure there is a lot of difference between the book and the movie.
I wasn't bothered by the Eiffel Tower and them never going to Paris.
No, I wasn't either. It was just stupid. Stupid choice.
It wasn't even a stupid choice. It just was what it was.
Well, why take the time to set it up then?
If you're going to have an object that represents their relationship and them traveling in their relationship, at least have them go to the place that the object is. I'm not saying they should have gone to the Eiffel Tower. Maybe they should have, or maybe that should have been the Colosseum and the snow globe.
Otherwise, the locker, like you said, would have been enough. Storytelling wise, he could have seen the inside of her locker with all the pictures of foreign destinations and her lists. But no, they introduced an object of a specific geographical location.
Well, because they needed to figure out how to get him over a lake.
Exactly.
for that super awesome sequence. It's Rube
Yeah.
Goldberg all over again,
I
man.
think you're right.
So, all right. So, all right. He gives her a snow globe. Mark the bully grabs it and throws it onto the ice of a frozen lake. David goes after it. He falls through the ice. They all think he's dead, but he teleports. And then so he just immediately leaves and never tells anybody after that. What?
Yeah.
But he does go back home, so his father knows he's not dead. But yet, all those years that pass, nobody said, "Hey, he's not dead."
Yeah,
he just left.
Yeah. Michael Rooker never ran into Rachel Bilson and be like, "David, no, he's not dead. He didn't die in the lake."
Nobody gave their condolences to Rooker.
Yeah. He didn't have a funeral. They just assumed he died, and then they stopped talking about it.
He might have spent some time in jail for this kid's unexplained disappearance.
Yeah.
Ooh, the dad?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Maybe. I mean, I assume he reported him as just running away. I don't know. So, all right. So,
All right.
yeah, David teleports himself to the library.
Oh.
I have to assume there was something in the book about him loving reading, which is why the library is like his go-to safe space that he teleports himself to when he becomes emotional.
This was so confusing because we return to the library again at the end of the movie.
Three times we go to the library.
And you often bring up the 3-beat thing, and I thought about this, and I was like, we realistically, having him come back to the library the second time doesn't really count. It's the same exact thing. But having what should have happened was, as little baby Hayden Christensen should have been dropped off at the library or picked up at the library after it's closed by his, shitty father. Maybe that happened and it got cut. But that would have made the library contextually make a bunch of sense.
I bet you anything there's something in the book about the library. Either it's a safe space or that's where his mom abandoned him or something.
Yeah. And I know that we're used to, and we accept that, especially with mutants, they always had the latent abilities, and then they're just triggered at some point.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is not an X-Men movie, and he's not a Marvel mutant. He went into the ice, and that triggered his powers. That's acceptable. I'm not saying that's a bad storytelling, but why not give us something? I don't know. Even if it's a flashback of him as a child, because we find out later that his mom knew when he was very, very little. So just some shots of him as a 5-year-old transporting around the house. It's just vague, if you fall into freezing cold water.
Yeah.
Radioactive water.
Well, and they say, so there's others, but we don't get to find out how many. We don't get to find out, I could have used some bullshit science stuff. Be like, you've got the gene that does the thing.
Right.
Well, and they were clearly trying to set up a universe with this, hiring Samuel L. Jackson, having sequels available, and all that kind of thing. They
Not
just
killing Samuel L. Jackson, introducing Diane Lane.
Establishing this. Yeah.
Honestly, that's a great point. This felt like a sequel to another Jumper movie that should have come before this. Do you know what I mean? Right off the bat, they were trying to act like we knew all of this shit already.
It looked to me like that maybe they were trying to reveal things throughout further movies to leave aspects of it a mystery, making them whatever, not Templars, but whatever that religious order is. Paladins.
Yeah.
But,
and the Paladins, that gets confusing. All right, so anyway, so he walks home in the cold, wet, cold. I mean, dude really needs to warm up and dry off before he walks home through a Midwest winter.
Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
Well, and any kid knows that. You're not going to go back outside of the library until you're
dry,
feeling better. Yeah.
And any adults there, even with all the crazy water damage they can't explain, would at least help that kid dry off before allowing him to go out into the cold, dripping wet.
Absolutely.
We're talking about a library like it's a hospital. He hasn't been discharged yet. So
librarians are beautiful people.
It's true.
They are.
So, all right. So he goes home where he lives alone with his dad, his mother having left when he was 5. His dad's all rough and Michael Rookery.
Well, and his
But-
voiceover is like he wasn't a very good dad, or something to that effect. Mom was gone, and he wasn't much of a dad. And then we see his dad, and I'm like, all he had to do was tell us his dad was Michael Rooker, and we would have totally understood what he meant.
Yes, 100%. But I was expecting his dad to be like abusive or something.
No.
He
Well,
was fine.
It was implied by the chain on the door. That's what
Yeah.
I thought. The abuse was implied by him chaining his door shut,
Oh,
which we then see reflected later on in the movie when the door is chained shut from the other side because dad is afraid, and it's a
Yeah.
bigger chain, and abusers of children are cowards. They were making a bunch of points, but not well. Like I read into all this subtext.
I see. Yeah, I missed that little clue.
Yeah,
I mean, I expected all that, but then his dad seems to be protecting him his dad didn't seem like a total piece of shit. Like later on
Yeah.
when Sam Jackson comes to visit him,
Yeah.
so it was all very confusing, and the character lines were not well drawn.
yeah.
So, all right. David locks himself in his room. In his emotional state, he teleports himself again back to the library.
And this
Then-
at this point, there's a poster on the wall that says "Escape to your library."
Yeah. That's cute.
Kind of
Like,
cute. Doesn't explain anything. But no, yeah, whatever. It was there.
Yeah.
That's all.
There's clearly a lot of stuff that's supposed to like make sense and be here and be themes that don't and aren't.
Right.
Yeah.
So he goes to Millie's, leaves a snow globe there for her, and then he skips town to New York.
To make it on Broadway.
We saw Dad talking to two cops outside when he goes back to his house to get some money and clothing or whatever. And you barely hear what they're saying, but he says like, "No, I'm not going anywhere."
Mhm.
That's what made me think like he might have spent some time in jail.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
They're all. Do you know the whereabouts of your dead son?
Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
He's not dead. He's
In
dead.
fact, I just
the cops himself.
he's not dead.
Or
I just chained him up in his room.
Maybe he spent some time in the nut house because like the cops show up to say, "Hey, your son fell in a river," and Dad's like, "No, he just teleported out of his bedroom. I'm not going anywhere."
Woo.
This is again something that I bet you money actually like is explained in the book.
Yeah.
There's just so much stuff they hinted at that like, yeah. All right. So in New York, he practices his teleporting skills.
When he smacks into that tree, that was probably the funniest part of the whole movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This wasn't written for any kind of comedy, but that moment was.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I like seeing people smack into trees.
I do too.
Don't we all though? So
Well,
all
I
right,
feel bad. I feel bad when it's a real person, but as we talked during superhero movie, yeah,
yeah, non-real people can smack into whatever they want and all that.
it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
All
right.
So all right, he realizes he has to have seen where he's going. Is that right? Because
Oh.
the rules seem really vague. Like they have to
Yeah.
have jump points. He has to have pictures. He has to be able to envision it in his mind or something.
Good point.
Yeah, there
Like-
were a lot of rules at play. Jump points being one
But
of
they,
them.
they
What?
yeah, but they didn't seem consistent, and I wasn't able to exactly parse what the rules actually were.
Well,
So-
yeah, and you're kind of right, because then when she is almost dead at the end, he specifically jumps to a hospital waiting room to scream, But had he been to that hospital before or seen a picture? It is vague.
It's very vague.
The jump point thing was really interesting because they leave like a residue, or what did he call it? A jump point hole or something?
Jump
Jump-
scar.
Jump scar.
Which is a cool concept that you leave some sort of remnant behind of your ability to do this, and it gives the bad guys a way to track them and shit. But that was really just kind of a one and done line. It should have been more integrated into that. Like,
well, yeah, they really did not set up the world or the rules well at all. Because it seems like they're tearing a hole in reality and going from one place to another, and that's all fine. But then when Sam Jackson starts being able to go through them, and it's like lingering, and he has a machine, and like there's just so much going on that like it's like what?
Right.
yeah, they started breaking their own rules pretty quickly.
True.
Yeah. And it seemed like it should have been a bigger deal that Sam Jackson can like jump through these things. Like, oh, that's a game changer. But instead they're just like, yeah, they got a machine.
Yeah, they can do that.
Right.
Yeah. So all right. So he decides that he's going to rob a bank with his powers. He goes and checks out the bank, pulls off the heist, and he's got lots of cash. Then we're introduced to Sam Jackson. He says he's an NSA agent, and he's there to investigate the bank heist.
Okay, this was one of the weirdest Sam Jackson looks ever. He looks exactly like Clay Shaw in JFK, Tommy Lee Jones's character. That's all I could think of, but yeah, so weird.
Well, and the Cisco bleached white hair, but like still brown facial hair.
Right.
Yeah.
It would have been more striking with white facial hair and white eyebrows. So it would have been real weird looking.
And how many times in his career has he said the phrase, "That's classified"?
Oh my God.
So
Seriously.
many times. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then we cut to 8 years later. David's living large in New York.
Before we cut to there, or as we cut to there, he's like laying in bed. He's counted out all his money and stuff. But there's a police motorcycle in his tiny hotel room. Like right next to the bed. That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's also weird is that, I thought eventually he would turn into a superhero. He's only interested in saving his girlfriend's life. But there were those moments where he's like eating and watching the news. And a couple of times the news report specifically said like there was no time to get to them. Rescuers couldn't get to them in time. They were too far away. And he doesn't take notice. I thought that was setting that up. That at some point he would take notice and be like, wait, I should do good with my powers.
Right, well, because
never came up again.
They hang such a lampshade on it. They're just like, oh, but they couldn't get to them. And like they pause and he stops and his like eyes like widen, his head tips like
I could have.
I thought he was gonna go be a hero, but no, he takes that as a cue to I need to go surfing.
Yep.
First hit the pubs and then go surfing. Which I love that idea. That's a great way to use that power, is to be like, oh, Fiji? Sure. That's sweet. I'll go.
Yeah.
But he didn't go to. He went to Fiji eventually. I think he was supposed to be in the Maldives because they mentioned that in like the first 10 seconds of the movie.
Right, early in the day.
Where he says he was surfing in the Maldives, but he didn't surf in the Maldives. He just paddled his board out to the.
and they said, they said the storm hit Fiji, so he goes.
So goes there.
And what a dick to sit on top of the Sphinx. It's so delicate and so
And also, it's the middle of the day. Sitting on top of the Sphinx, there's probably several dozen people taking a tour who would just see you up there.
You see tourists down around the walkway. Yeah.
But he's got a folding chair and a cooler, and he's snacktacular up there.
And his surfboard.
Yeah. Anyway.
So after his day of fun, while he's in the pub in London, he's noticed by somebody who sees him do a jump.
Is this the extra that's just staring at the camera?
No, not yet.
No, this is Griffin.
Oh, that's right.
Griffin, whatever his name is. So then, meanwhile, we cut to the jungle. Sam Jackson is murdering a jumper. He's got a special murdering knife.
They show the machine at this point. They don't explain what it was for, but they do drop in the machine in this scene. So that's how they were able to catch that guy, I guess.
Yeah.
Who was jumping through the jungle.
Better jump through the jungle. I would understand in the middle. So I don't feel like they ever gave him a real motivation. I understand in the Middle Ages, people would have probably thought they were demons or possessed or whatever. Sure. But Sam L, the best he gives is only God can be in two places at once. It just doesn't feel like a murderous cause.
Only God should have the power to be everywhere at once. That's not what their power is.
Right. Yeah. And shouldn't God have the power to murder people, Like, excuse me, Mr. Paladin, why are you able to kill people, but I can't jump because it's an abomination?
Well, and then later on, Sam Jackson, Hayden Christensen tells him, what if I'm different? What if I can be good? And Sam Jackson says, eventually everyone is bad, that every jumper turns bad eventually. So it seems like it's not just because it's against his religion. It seems like he also is just trying to, because they all turn bad eventually. It's like a Minority Report thing or something.
He's preemptively getting rid of them.
Because eventually they all use their powers for bad, which is not the same thing as only God should have these powers.
Yeah, that's a different motive. Weird.
Yeah, I did not understand the motivations of any of these characters at all. The only persons whose motivation I did understand would have been a British Griffin guy. He was pretty clear. I'm going to kill Sam Jackson. That's my motivation, period.
Well, I mean, David's was also pretty clear. I'm going to get the girl, then I'm going to save the girl. That's all it was for him.
No.
Getting her and then saving her.
He spent 8 years forgetting about her and sleeping with British chicks in pubs. His motivation wasn't to get the girl until he happened to accidentally end up back in Michigan.
All right. Yeah, fair point. That's yeah.
So all right. Okay, so he gets a call about the bank heist, that they have a break in the bank heist. Is this the bank heist they started investigating 8 years ago?
Yes.
What?
Wow. Yeah.
What?
That's crazy. That's like a murder investigation.
I assume that it's because there were no other connected events to the bank heist, but he's just a kid learning how to do this. He would probably be making messes all over the world to get to this ability.
Well, and when Sam Jackson confronts him, he has all those IOUs from different bank heists. What was the break? What did they get? Was it him eating lunch on top of the Sphinx? Is that the surfing? That's all we saw.
All right. Yeah.
We didn't see an incident which led to the break in the bank heist.
Right. Yeah. Most of the evidence comes from the bank itself. All the cash is serialized and numbered. There are cameras, there are doors, what other evidence did you uncover after 8 years? It's I said, it's not a murder investigation. We finally found the body. It's there are certain avenues in investigating bank heists, and then nothing else. You just, unless somebody comes to you with a tip.
Yeah, was there some sort of moment that was left out that had to do with the IOUs? Because that's the only thing that connects him to this crime.
I assume there was a lot of moments left out. I'm curious how much was shot that wasn't used, as opposed to how much was just a script that ignored a ton of stuff from the books but didn't change it in order to make it comprehensible to an audience.
I'm torn with that because I can't decide. It's easy to say, it was cutting room floor, but at the same time, feels like this was all on the page this way.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is. And yeah. What was that, Al? You want to snuggle? We can get in there, buddy.
I said Paris in the snow globe.
Oh, Paris.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
All right. I guess I'm just reading into things then.
But I wouldn't mind a snuggle.
All right. So David arrives home. He finds Sam Jackson there. Sam Jackson's name is Roland. Roland.
Okay.
Roland tries to capture David with an electric tube. And when he's being electrocuted, David can't teleport. This is very important. When you're being electrocuted, you can't teleport. Except for in the end, when you can teleport more than you've ever been able to before while being electrocuted.
Because he's different.
Yeah.
That's right. He's special.
It's an immunity.
I had at this point,
Go ahead.
I was calling it a zap stick, and at some point it turns into a jump rope.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
you're right. Jump rope.
So, all right, David manages to fight his way free, grabs a bag of cash, and jumps back to the library in his hometown.
He doesn't go to the library. He goes to his old bedroom.
Oh, his bedroom. That's right. Yeah.
And they're all, welcome home, Roscoe Jenkins.
Oh, God. So then, meanwhile, Roland finds an old picture of Millie, which, by the way, is a terrible picture of that girl that played young Millie. And he picks it up and goes, who the hell is this? Like, a picture of a person? What?
What do they think of next?
So David visits his dad briefly, finds Millie at a job at her job at a bar.
She's a small town girl living in a lonely world.
Yeah, working at a sports bar.
Yeah.
He gets in a fight with Mark, his old bully, and then jumps Mark into a bank vault, which doesn't seem like a great idea for keeping. Okay, so I'm sorry, this fucking movie.
I think he jumps into the same bank vault that he originally robbed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not a good idea, is what you're about to say, Thoreau.
It's a
No,
terrible
he's
idea.
about to say a lot. It looked like.
And what is he doing? He just got discovered for the first time in his entire jumping career. Somebody, a dangerous ass motherfucking Sam Jackson with electric tubes, comes into his house, knows who he is, and is like, I'm going to kill you. And he's like, I'm going to go check out this girl that I forgot about for 8 years and put Mark the bully into the same bank where I just discovered Sam Jackson knew I was at. Every choice he makes seems like he isn't just discovered by crazy, dangerous Sam Jackson. Like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
I've just been discovered. I better leave that guy a hint.
Right.
I've just been discovered.
Clue.
I better
Clue.
reconnect with an old girlfriend and go to Rome.
Yeah, because it's not even setting him up setting him up to take the rap. They know that dude wasn't in the vault all these 8 years.
Yes. Yes.
So
Why
yeah,
didn't
dumb
he take him
choice.
to like the middle of the desert or something?
Right, or somewhere cold because it was because of him that he fell through ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have. Yeah, but none of this makes any sense.
Or tries,
At all.
really.
Yeah.
Moving on.
So, all right. David reconnects with Millie, tells her he's in banking, and invites her to go to Rome with him, which she immediately does, despite how nonsensical of a decision that is for a woman to make. A person, really, to make. Hey, I haven't seen you in 8 years. Sure, I'll go to Rome with you right now.
Or I'm a
He
bartender
is
in the
loaded.
same small town we lived in. Yeah, exactly. I can take off this time to go to Rome. I can afford that.
So this was when they were reconnecting at the bar, having their chat. This was where the extra kept looking at the camera.
Yeah.
Because
Do
she
you
was
guys
like,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, I
she,
saw her the second time through.
she kept looking this way and then at the camera to look this way, and then
she
back and forth.
She ordered a drink a couple times, and then looked at the camera in the other direction, then back. Yeah.
Well, and after you pointed her out, then I had to notice her like extra-ing, like the work she was doing as an extra, which was a lot of like, I'm going to keep ordering drinks and tap the guy next to me who's going to nod at me.
Yep. And then I'm going to stare down you.
You at the camera.
Yeah.
Oh God.
No second take for them.
That was the best part of the movie.
I agree.
So they go to Rome. They fucking go to Rome, despite how stupid of a decision that is to make for both him and her, considering what he has just discovered about Sam Jackson, and that she is a small town waitress, and this fucking creepy dude shows back up after 8 years, tells her he doesn't like sand, and says, "Let's go to Rome."
Like, I understand why he didn't tell her immediately, but I also don't understand why he didn't tell her immediately. Because if you want to like win this girl over, you just go like, I can teleport, so let's go to Tahiti and then to Paris.
To
whatever.
Anywhere you want to go,
Yeah.
These, because he had a line right before they flew to Paris, calling back her words, was unless you want to skip the boring parts.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
I thought
travel.
the boring part would be flying on a plane for 10 hours.
Commercial air travel.
That's pretty boring in my experience.
Downright torturous.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So then Roland shows up to question Mark the bully. In Rome,
This time he's posing as a CIA agent.
Mm-hmm.
His first scene, he was NSA.
So did he kill Mark the bully, you think?
No, because later on,
he confronts him later.
Yeah.
But he does punch out that cop.
Yes.
Yeah.
You think the cop would find on NBC? You'd think that the cop would find that suspicious and then start questioning Mark the bully about the guy that questioned him.
Did you know that guy?
Seriously.
No, I didn't know that guy.
Oh, we just let him into your cell.
So all right, in Rome, David and Millie, did they sleep together or just make out? I forgot.
I'm pretty sure they slept together. There was a whole thing where he couldn't get her pants off, and it was. Really,
that's right. Okay.
Really weird.
So yeah, I mean, I understand why she would have slept with him in Rome, but also like she shouldn't have gone to Rome with this dude. Like that's just poor decision making, Millie.
She should have been all jump in me.
God. So all right. Touched by Griffin, who's I don't know how he found them in Rome.
Right.
But because he's been tracking the guy. He's tracking Roland, who is tracking Dave. So he's 2 steps ahead of the man.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So it doesn't though. I mean,
it doesn't make sense, but that's what I was like. Oh, okay, I see what they're doing. That's why he's ahead of them, and he's expecting them to show up there.
Well, that's what I meant. This dumbass universe doesn't explain a lot, but that explains that.
Yeah.
He wasn't following David. Makes sense. Anyway, especially because later on he says he's dedicated his life to finding paladins.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. So, all right. David uses his powers to sneak them into the Colosseum after it's closed for the day. His arguments to the guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's such a dick. No. See, like it's right there. Just let us go in there.
Just let us go in. Do it. Come on, we're white.
Yeah. Like fucking Americans, man. This happens every day. Right after we close.
And I love how her responses to being in the I don't know. She seems bored. It's like, are you not entertained? And she's like, no, I'm not.
Oh God. So all right. So inside the Colosseum, he gets separated from Millie while which by the way, she is very, very patient waiting for him to open that door. Very patient.
That's true.
because we get a 10-minute sequence while she's just standing there going, David,
Hello,
David, is that you? Hello, David?
Is this our room? I lost the key card. David, are you in there?
So at this point, Griffin confronts David, tells David that he's a jumper too. Griffin warns him,
I'm a jumper too.
I'm a jumper. He's a jumper. You're a jumper. We're a jumper. They really missed the opportunity to use the Mac Dad is going to make a jump on the soundtrack. Jump by Van Halen. There's so many songs that could have been on the soundtrack that they decided.
That was my lead-in, because one of the most hilarious lines in all of rock history is "You might as well jump."
Yes.
How do you argue with that logic? Yeah, I guess might as well.
You might as well jump.
The Pointer Sisters, "Jump for Your Love."
Yeah, so many. All right. Jump around like House of Pain. Come on. All right. So,
welcome to our new podcast, Songs About Jumping.
Yep.
I think the top 4 this next week should be only songs that have jump in the title.
All right.
No.
Anyway.
So they're attacked by some paladins. Roland explains the whole situation to David. Then they fight them a bunch, and David follows Griffin to his hideout, which is important that he do that, because otherwise he wouldn't know where it is and wouldn't be able to jump there. Apparently, he just follows him through the jump. He has to say it. I followed you through the jump scar.
Yeah.
And Roland's like,
right.
yeah, Roland's like, get out of here. Okay.
He seems genuinely surprised that he was able to do that.
Yeah.
Because clear, this is the first jumper he's met. He's never confronted a jump scar before, but he knew what to call it.
He knows the lingo.
He's different, right? Is that because his mom's paladin?
Well, yeah. I mean, I have to assume David's different and special. Like,
because of his midichlorians.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. He had like latent knowledge.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He knew things.
Well, and he was able to do the special building jump later, which definitely doesn't make any sense because he was, like, okay, we'll get to that.
I thought the first time I watched it, I was thinking that Mary, his mom, was a jumper herself.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought so too.
Very much so, especially with the scene that's coming up in a few minutes.
Right, which I want to. I feel, just to put it on record, I feel like the explanation as to what the paladins were and are was the weakest, laziest, bullshit relationship I'd ever heard in my life. You know what I mean? Like, I understand vampires and vampire hunters. I understand demons and exorcists. I understand. It was so fucking vague. These people just don't like these other people who can do this thing.
Yeah, so it's an organization, some sort of religious organization that hunts them down and has been doing it for centuries.
That split off from the Knights of the Crusade, like earlier with the Templar and such. It's so weak and lazy. It's like, what? So you've dedicated your life to killing these kids who can do this thing that really doesn't affect the world.
No, it doesn't really at all. Yeah, they're not murdering people.
Right.
And Sam Jackson says eventually everyone turns bad. Eventually all jumpers turn bad. We saw no evidence of that.
Evil. Yeah, no evil.
We didn't get any examples, like nothing.
They're very selfish.
Griffin goes a little bad in the end. But, okay, whatever.
Yeah, you're right. That explains hundreds of years.
Also, I was just going to point out the religious zealotry aspect of it. It's like, they're not all right in the head. So,
I mean, that's fine. I can accept.
People do a lot of shitty stuff in the name of religious zealotry.
Go ahead, Josh.
No, but I did say earlier, like, yeah, I understand turn or Middle Ages type situation. They thought there was something up with people like that, but they thought so many different kinds of people were crazy as well. People who suffer from epilepsy, people with autism, and shit like that. So you would think that flash forward to the 20th century, they maybe don't still think that there's a little evil goblin living in their head that makes the. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't justify centuries of hunting. I understand what you mean now. Or early on, zealots for sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, I agree, and I can even see how this religious organization could survive through centuries hunting these people with these powers, but none of it was adequately explained or explored in this film.
Right. They could have made the jumpers a lot more dangerous on screen to justify this, but you definitely sided with jumpers in this movie.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right. So
I don't think they needed to show other jumpers being dangerous, but I don't want to labor the point.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah, so that explanation was satisfying.
I was fine with it.
All right.
I think every aspect of this world was set up half-assed for the film viewers.
I
every
absolutely,
aspect.
Yeah, I agree as well.
There should have been some, not should have, whatever, but they could have introduced some element of trying to restore balance to the universe by destroying them. Like, not even to be pithy about Star Wars, but like,
you're right.
This kind of power, once someone can control these people or something, it's not even about these individuals, you know. Yeah, there are a lot of ways to spin this to make it work in one line.
Yeah.
But they forgot that one line.
I didn't, yeah.
All right. Anyway, so David gets arrested
by the generation after generation where Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. So David,
can you not?
Pause again here, guys. Just real
Sorry,
quickly.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Josh. There's just a delay again, I think. There was.
I had to. Phone is dying.
So,
all right, let's just get. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So, thanks again, live streamers. And by that I mean Andy. All right. So David gets arrested outside of the Coliseum. He spends the night being interrogated by Italian police. Then his mom just shows up and frees him and tells him to run.
How underwhelming was that?
Right?
He hadn't seen his mother in so long. He was totally casual.
And how did he just recognize her? I don't think I'd recognize like a relative I haven't seen since I was 5 years old necessarily.
He's got pictures of her around the house, though. I mean, his dad still saved the pictures.
Yeah,
I'm confused how she was able to escape.
She's a paladin.
She is a paladin.
Well, know that yet.
Yeah, that's the thing. When he runs out of the room and she's gone, I was assuming she was a jumper.
They showed her going down the stairs or something. He's still handcuffed to the chair by like one arm, and he gets like stuck going through the door as she like vamooses. They don't show her jump. One might insinuate that she jumped or just walked away. I think they were trying to be intentionally vague as to how she got away.
But no hug, no questions, no shock or surprise. Just, oh, that's my mom who's been gone most of my life.
He did jump out of his chair when she walked in. So there was some surprise.
I think there
was shock and surprise.
What you said, Thoreau, about how he wouldn't recognize her, having him slowly recognize her would have been way more compelling than him being like, oh, shit, that's my mom. Being like, wait, who is this person? Why do I recognize you?
She takes off and leaves.
And then she leaves.
Till the end. Yeah.
Well, and it wasn't even like, it was very clumsily shot and edited too, because it didn't even seem like a reveal. She just opens the door and walks in.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like she was. Yes, that's what I mean.
The staging was weird. All right, so he frees himself, which he could have done this at any time. It was
Yeah,
just him and the cop.
Why didn't he jump into another cell or something, or like the bathroom, and figure out a way to get homegirl out?
He didn't want to jump in front of the detective who was there. She dropped off the handcuff key on the desk. I don't know if you noticed that. When she came in, she dropped the handcuff key on the desk and told him to ditch the girl and took off. So when he jumps to the Sphinx, he's still got the handcuffs on. And he has the key and he takes it off.
But he jumped the cop there too.
He did jump the cop there
and
too.
Leaves the cop there. So I mean the cop's now aware that this dude did a weird thing to him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, he could have jumped to a hardware store and hacked that thing off and then jump back, you know?
When he jumps and doesn't jump, I found confounding as to when he would use his superpowers and not use his superpowers.
Only when it was convenient for the plot.
Yeah.
Basically.
Unless they were fighting, and then it was all the time.
Yeah. Constant. Yeah. Or like he wanted to go to the fridge.
Yeah.
So all right. He meets up with Millie outside and takes her back to the airport. Millie tells David she doesn't trust him and wants the truth. He shows her his big bag of cash. Then she gets on a plane for Detroit. Meanwhile, Roland visits David's dad. Then David heads back to Griffin's hideout, where Griffin tells him that Paladins have been hunting jumpers for centuries. He tells David all his friends and family are in danger. David goes back to his dad's house. Yeah.
When we hear Roland gets word that David has escaped, and the guy on the line says, she said 2 would be enough with the she there. So on the rewatch, I'm thinking, knowing that she's a paladin, she told them like, no, 2 will be fine. Not knowing that Griffin would be there, but also to give him a fighting chance, as it works. Like, because Roland told him to send everybody, and she said 2 will be fine. So she's still protecting him from the inside.
But she's kind of a leader. It seems like.
It seems like.
It does seem that way, yeah.
There's so many questions about that. So, because she... okay, I'll wait till the end. All right, so... yeah, David heads back to Griffin's hideout. Then David tells him all his friends and family are in danger. Then he goes back to his dad's house and finds him... I thought he was dead, but then he takes him to the hospital and all the doctors act like he's still alive. So I don't know.
He's got to be ready for the sequel.
I thought he was dead, but I don't know.
Just because he takes him to the hospital, the doctors run over and start like doing things to him, like they're trying to resuscitate him. I mean, he could still be dead, and they could try to resuscitate him, I guess. But it made it confusing because he wasn't just like, my dad's dead. He was like, get him to the hospital.
Michael Rooker is hard to kill, man.
Yeah.
I did like how Dad stepped up back at the scene with Jackson with Roland. Just like, I'll be if I hear anything, I'll be sure to give you a holler. No, you won't.
No, I won't.
I won't.
The scene between Michael Rooker and Sam Jackson was 100% the best scene in the movie with the best acting in the movie because those two guys are awesome together.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why I never felt like Rooker was an abusive parent. The chain thing that I didn't notice did make sense if that's what it was, but the scenes themselves, he seemed like a guy that loved his kid but didn't know how to be a single father type situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there was the abusive subtext, but everything that was explicitly on screen seemed like he was just doing his best to be a dad, but wasn't good at it. So
yeah,
it was a badly drawn character line.
Somebody can be those things.
In his initial scene, he seems to express genuine concern about his son. Like, are you okay? What happened?
What happened? Why are you home
Like,
so late?
Why are you dripping wet?
Immediately get your ass down here and mop this up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a little bit of both of those things.
Yeah.
And
Loving and abusive father.
And at this point with Roland, it's 8 years later, and he's had a lot of time to think about his relationship with his son.
And all of this would be fine, except that it's all handled so clumsily that we don't get to have a character that nuanced.
Yeah.
It needs to be clean, straightforward archetypes in a movie that is this badly made.
Right. They did not flesh out a single element of this movie. They didn't explore anything they tried to do, from relationships to motivations to nothing was explained.
No.
Where were we?
All right. So then he confronts Mark, the bully, to discover what he told the Paladins, then heads back to Griffin's hideout again. David wants to find Roland to stop him from hurting Millie. He thinks he and Griffin should team up. Griffin goes to Tokyo. David follows him, trying to convince him to team up. Griffin steals a car. We find out he can jump in cars.
Marvel team up excuse.
Yeah.
That's like his like Marvel team ups. They're short, single run. We could do this.
When they're in the car, that's the first time that I hear him say the name Griffin. It's like he didn't introduce himself at any time before that. He never said my name is. But now that they're in the car, David just knows his name suddenly.
That's a good point.
Yep. Interesting.
Well, I mean, it's kind of in character though, because he's trying to avoid interacting with him the whole time. But they might as well just not say his name out loud.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but if we never see Hayden Christensen hear his name at any point, then he just starts calling him that, it's something was on the cutting room floor there. So all right. So Griffin tells him he once knew a guy that tried to jump a building, but it killed him.
And that man's name was Evel Knievel.
He and Griffin do some bonding about parents leaving them when they're young, and then Griffin finally agrees to do the team up.
Well, David wants to, commiserate with his new friend, and Griffin's like, basically, like, I'm not writing your biography. I don't care. I didn't ask about your family. Anyway.
They arrive in Detroit to discover that David doesn't understand time zones. And the plane arrived an hour earlier.
What?
That was like, what? What, dude?
What?
You just got the time zones wrong?
It was traveling west.
Oh God. So David goes looking for Millie. Griffin goes back to his hideout to arm up. At Millie's apartment, he tells her he's a bank robber, reveals his jumping abilities, and when he sees Roland arriving, then he grabs her and jumps to Griffin's hideout. Roland uses his machine to follow David through the wormhole. Roland fights them. There's the thing with the double-decker bus and the flamethrower.
This fight is the coolest part. Like with what's going on action-wise and using their powers part of this movie. And it really climaxed here.
Yeah.
In the desert.
Yeah. The double-decker bus bit was cool. The Griffin's running jump thing, he like runs at him and like
accelerating.
Does it increase his momentum or
I assume
potential energies? Is he just I don't know, but he slams Roland out that like security door.
There's a lot of really cool uses of their powers here. I'm curious why he didn't at one point grab Roland, jumps somewhere like way up in the like top of a building, drop him, and then jump away. Like that seems like the fastest way to kill somebody. I'm sure you've been to the top of the Eiffel Tower. Jump him there and then jump back.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the machine in Paris.
That's why he didn't go to Paris, because it would have ended the movie just like that.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah. All right. So eventually Roland goes back through the crack to Millie's house. Griffin follows, steals the machine so they can't be followed again. Then at the last second, Roland pulls Millie through the wormhole with that. But with the machine is now gone, and I don't understand how he was able to do that.
It didn't close immediately.
All right.
The last ditch effort.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, all right. So, yeah, Griffin then has a bomb. He wants to go blow up the paladins at Millie's house. David wants to rescue Millie first. So, David steals the detonator and jumps, and Griffin follows, and they jump around the world fighting.
So this is Griffin showing that he's not a good guy. This is the second time, besides the car theft, because theft is whatever. But he drops the one guy in the Atlantic Ocean with the sharks. Oh, I know a shark pit around Cuba. And then he's like, I'm just going to blow up this place. So
yeah, with your girlfriend still inside.
Yeah. Not a great example of them being bad.
Yeah, especially since it's
or chaotic evil.